If you haven't heard of a quirky little title called Battletoads, then you must be living under a hell of a rock. Like, the rockiest and the helliest of rocks. Now, we all get the TLDR of this whole Battletoads thing. It's a hard video game. The end. So, thank you all for watching. I know this review was a bit short, but I felt like I wanted some closure for this video game, and these fake-out jokes are only funny for so long, aren't they? Yes, I'm absolutely aware of how often Battletoads comes to mind when we think of hard video games. Hell, that basis alone was a huge factor to me playing it.
Wink, wink.
So why am I even here? Well, if you're looking for a good answer to that, then prepare to be disappointed. You see, I've wanted to do reviews for a while now, but I never really knew how to get a decent leg up. Don't ask me why or how, but the one thing that came to my mind when I wanted to introduce my take on reviews was doing a video covering Battletoads. It's best to not think about it too hard, so you know what? Fuck it, let's jump the ship and see how far is too far. As some of you may know, Battletoads was conceived in 1991 by none other than Rare themselves. Specifically, their founders Tim and Chris Stamper, at least before they became known for such titles as their entire contribution to the N64. Rare created Battletoads as a response to the rampant success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they too wanted to add their own take on what was popular at the time. On their own account, they also intended to create as much merchandise as they can. Hell, one way or another, an animated TV series was set to air alongside the TMNT show.
I'm a brain-banging, mud-stomping Megatoad, man!
It's, very unfortunate that nothing aired beyond its pilot. Yeah, their ambitions weren't executed as well as Rare hoped, but hey, at least the Battletoads see some action in a port of Rare Replay, a set of levels, and a boss fight in the Xbox One's port of Shovel Knight, and even as a playable character in the next-gen Killer Instinct. So, okay, great, but how's the game itself? Well, there isn't that much of a premise. After all, it's the early 90s. Video games didn't have much of an idea on how to write anything extravagant. The TLDP, I guess, is that the Dark Queen kidnaps a princess and even one of your friends, and you have to rescue them. Though I must ask what nefarious purposes a lady would want to keep another lady in a dungeon. Right, so there's not much to the story, so my sense of script formatting is absolutely fucked. So I guess I'll shove what I was going to talk about the presentation over here, and we might be fine. The game doesn't look too shabby, all things considered. The environments are colorful, but made with specific palettes to the point where they're easy on the eyes, mostly. And the characters are very expressive for an 8-bit game. Even though it's sometimes hard to tell what the fuck you're interacting with, but with a game designed to be as wacky as possible, I can give that a pass. Especially since resources back in the day were very limited. The music's great too. In an age where developers had to stick to 8-bit themes, Battletoads has some fantastic earworms. I can tell you're head bobbing to the music right now. I am right now, and you can't stop me. Okay, so this is... oh, fuck. The part where shit. Talk about the actual fucking game. Damn it! But to be honest, I'm having a bit of, holy god, trouble talking about this video game, son of a... So let's break this down a bit. Battletoads is a side-scrolling platforming beat-em-up. You run, you jump, you pummel enemies until you send them sky high. It functions pretty well given the circumstance. Hell, the first level does a really good job at easing you into the experience. The enemies are well placed to catch you off guard, but give you enough time to react. There are minimal options to fuck up, and even the boss fight is cool, especially the fact that it puts you within the perspective of the actual boss. Good stuff. In fact, the second level isn't too shabby either. While yes, it immediately abandons the side-scrolling part, you still slowly descend down the cavern, defeating enemies along the way. Fantastic, simple stuff. Now let's get to that third level. The first portion has you beat up a bunch of rats and these Space Invader looking things. Alright, there are even little speeders you can drive. Where can we go wrong? This, ladies, gentlemen, anyone who'd bitch at me for standard identification, is what solidified Battletoads' infamy. Turbo Tunnels has you avoiding slabs of obstacles, drones, and pitfalls, but over time things get very quick. Not to mention that, okay, I'm gonna be honest, it's really not that bad. Back then, yeah, I can understand it being a hell of an obstacle, but unless you're somehow playing with input lag, if your reactions are good enough, the experience will not be that bad, surely. Yes, it's a hell of a difficulty spike, but most of the level gives you time to react to what's coming, despite how the portions that don't will require some intense reactions and memorizations, and even then, it's not like it's impossible. It's just an outlier that the game is done being in the realms of standard difficulty and is about to crash into the nearest tree. But, you know, know what? Let's say we get past this level. After all, it is the 3rd level in the game. There are 9 other levels, so what could they be? Well, unfortunately for you, these levels do not let up, and in fact get even more brutal. Let's go through these as quickly as we can, shall we? Level 4 is an ice level, where you have to deal with insta-kill spikes, snowmen throwing their own snowballs, a couple of these spiny Koopa shells, and even the level's own fucking physics. Because hey, we can't have a classic ice level without the very floor you stand and run on feel like Satan's wet floor. Level 5 is a surfboard level, where you control a surfboard that's way too jank for its own good, and you have to avoid whirlpools that are much harder to avoid than they look. Sure, you get a break and have to fight a boss, but it's back on the surfboard when you're done, only this time you have to avoid more drones as well as jumping over pitfalls. Level 6 is a level where you have to climb animatronic snakes. Sure, the first room is impossible to fuck up on, but the later rooms carry over spikes, and their replacements combined with the snake's travel path makes things a hell of a lot more ridiculous. Good luck getting past this level without spaghettiing your way through it. Well, how's your patience so far? Well, good, we have half a fucking game left. Level 7 starts off with some intense platforming, but with infinite lives, it's a fucking joke. And then goes into what I call Turbo Tunnels 2. You thought number 1 was bad? Have some fucking fun avoiding electricity currents that give a narrow chance to pass through, fireballs, and a shit ton of missiles. Sure, the last part of Turbo Tunnels is insane, but with the amount of shit you have to do here, it might as well be a sequel. Level 8's an elevator shaft, and the first of a batch of levels you have to scale up. Here you have to deal with drones that shoot out electricity, fans that will push you away, fans that will suck you in and kill you immediately, as well as gas clouds that will kill you instantly. Oh yeah, and the level doesn't scroll down for you, so shit like this can happen. There are even animated piles of goop that will attack you, and your only way of escaping is to mash the hell out of it. Oh yeah, and they'll kill you in seconds. Have fun. Level 9's a fucking adventure in of itself. You have to deal with drones that will kill you in 2 hits at the very most. Then you gotta scale down this helicopter thing while you avoid spikes. Then more drones. Then another helicopter section. Then you have to race a bunch of gears that will kill you in 1 hit. Then you have an underwater section that goes on for fucking ever, where you have to deal with spikes, eels, and sharks, as well as being susceptible into being knocked into the spikes. Then another gear section, only underwater. Then you have to deal with rubber duckies that will kill you in 1 hit and can't even die. Then you have another underwater section where you go through narrow pathways where you're even more susceptible to being knocked into the spikes, as well as one last duck on the top. Then you have one last helicopter section where, oh, what? The shark can bite you through the wall? What is that? I can't make any of this up if I tried. Are you bored yet? Level 10? Oh, level 10. What better than to follow up what's arguably the longest level in the game with possibly my least favorite level in the game. This gimmick has 3 sections where you start off with drones and instill gas, then you have to race a rat and destroy a bomb before it destroys it and kills you. The latter sections are fucking ridiculous and will give your fingers and D-pads a nice fucking. Level 11 has you riding a fucking thing while you race another fucking thing where you have to keep moving along pathways based on where you hold the direction of the D-pad. If you switch in time, you'll get boosted, only slightly. If you fuck up, you'll slow down, and considering the fine margin of error this level holds, you will get fucking fucked. Hell, why even use a D-pad? Chances are you're emulating the game, use a keyboard, and it's like 50 times easier to do, but still not entirely easy. And then the final fucking level has you go through another vertical level with armadillo things, spike things, intense platforming, giant nose clouds things, giant face things, more giant face things, just everything will fuck you up. You'll get pummeled, pushed, eaten, sucked off, fucked off. If there's any way you want to get fucked, this level will hook you up. And only then you'll reach the final boss that stays in the air for so long, and when she uses her Twitch emote, you're in for a world of hurt. And you have to deal with all of this with only 3 lives and 3 continues. Yeah, if there's any game that I can encourage some form of cheating, it would be this one, because unless you have so much experience with this game, you'll need a workaround. It's not all hellfires and kill though. The game gives you opportunities for health recovery, 1-ups, and even warps within certain levels to skip through them, but each of them is so limited, so I wouldn't advise relying on them too much. I know I practically spoiled the entire game, and trust me, for future reviews, I won't go into such massive detail over everything the game has, if I do future reviews. But here's my overall point here. No matter how much you know of this game, or hell, most games, nothing will ever come close to preparing you to the hell this game will provide. And I'm not exaggerating either. That and the game's over 20 years old. Get over it, you little shit. So now we're at the point of the review where I give my overall final thoughts about the game, and despite how fucking AIDS it is, I would absolutely recommend it. Well, I would at least recommend it if you're going in with infinite lives. I doubt anyone who considers him an average gamer would get too far without it. But if you can prove me wrong on that, knowing my luck you probably will, I wholeheartedly encourage it. Yes, Battletoads is not an easy game, but I think its difficulty has a bit of charm to it. It really shows how developers can go to such great lengths to be as massive toads as possible. It's like Dark Souls. If Dark Souls stars a bunch of toads, was released 2.5 decades ago, was a platforming beat 'em up, and not like Dark Souls at all. Not to mention the complete satisfaction obtainable from beating this game is unfathomable. That said, if you're one of those types of gamers that gets so salty so easily, I would not recommend this game to you if you value your controllers not being in your televisions, drywalls, or anywhere in between. Now, of course, I give recommendations on how to play games, but you don't have to follow them after all. You're free to do whatever. But there is one thing that I and many other gamers condone when it comes to this fucking game. Just don't play co-op. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I wanted to dip my toes into reviews for a while now, I just wasn't sure how to do it. I might tweak some things here and there, but I'm proud of how I decided to tackle them. Any feedback on how to improve my content is very appreciated, as well as requests. If you have games to recommend me review, let alone play, I shall consider it. But if you want a little fast pass on that request, as well as a bunch of other little goodies from me, then consider donating to my Patreon. Keyword consider, there's only so far I want to sell myself out. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later.